Hey Zeev, so I got your email and I just want to say that that's totally awesome that it's clicking with Abram and as far as you being a coach, it shows you that this stuff is a lot easier to see and dissect and even teach in motion. So that is the benefit to these videos, and that portrays to pitching too, and that's why I wanted to get throwing videos as soon as we can of Abram and fine tune some of that stuff too. So but yeah, that's kind of my point. We can see that we're in the cages and we're trying to help these kids out, and in real time it's kind of hard to see some of this stuff. So that's awesome. Again, the first step in any of these kids is they have to want to gain the knowledge on this stuff. Again, there's more than one way to teach this stuff too. You'll see contrary teaching videos online as well that says maybe you shouldn't do some of this stuff. So you also have to gain knowledge, on our point as coaches on what we're doing and what we're teaching, and be mindful of other different options. But anyway, that's awesome that Abram liked that. I'm going to go a little bit further here because a lot of the kids that maybe had a, flaw in their upper body mechanics, I didn't really get into their lower half. So I'm going to do that now since, you guys gave me that response and understood what was going on there. But first, before I do that, this one thing, this one drill and view and understanding that a hitting instructor has put online, this is the one thing, the pulling of the hands. This is going to immediately give Abram a better, more powerful, more consistent contact type of swing. So this video is on our website on the features page. I think it's the fifth one down, but it's labeled Aaron Judge, Hands in the Swing. So have Abram watch that as well. This really will drive it home and clarify the one thing that I think is the most important thing on his action list. So go watch that video if you can, and then I'm going to delve into this. I'm not going to post it online. I'm going to send you the link, but I'm going to cover his lower half here too. So I know that with basketball season, we might not be seeing him as much at the facility. So I want to give him all the information and help I can so that he can at least, practice this stuff at home off a tee into a net. So I'm going to delve into that, but I want him to go watch this video on our saintsbaseball.club website on the features page on Aaron Judge. So I'm going to jump in real quick. It's going to be brief, but I'm going to do a lower half dissection of his swing and put that on there and post it and send it to you. But again, that's the beauty of this stuff is like I said, I think all of our hitters are just adjustment or two away from being more consistent, powerful hitters, driving the ball gap to gap at the right trajectory. So anyway, I'm going to show you the lower half here.
Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant. Aaron Judge last night proved that the hands matter in a 500-foot home run. And man, this discussion makes people nervous, and it because of all the new teaching out. That's Josh Donaldson interview where he says, "I don't feel my hands." And then in 1975, guys are being told to slap balls on the ground with their hands and so forth. In my experience, right, I had a very rough time initially when I was teaching kids using video because I was trying to use the same methods that the guys that were using video were talking about, and I had some great results. But one of the things that I've struggled with players is this phase of the swing. No matter what, obviously, a better understanding of how the body's turn works and the connected forces that work together definitely help make improvements in players. I saw dramatic improvements that were different than an old method that I might have used, right? But what I kept struggling with was this phase of the swing because I was telling players that the body's turn was what was going to dictate, not their hands or anything like that. I realized I was missing something all along. I started focusing a lot on the top hand arm and what was happening with young players and what was happening with players at this level as they drop into their weight shift. All these guys, almost all, let me see back here, his back elbow is still back, right? Still back behind his hands, right? So that he can get to the inside really well. Right, so you cannot hit this position, and this is what I ultimately came up with. And first off, let me say this: is that Jake Epstein termed this position as the $1 million position. That basically the hands being in front of the armpit in this turn, he said it was extremely important, and I support that completely because this is exactly the things that I was seeing with young players is that their body was turning and the hands were chasing, right? The barrel cannot chase the turn. And so this is a great example right here. Now, again, this was a 500-foot home run. And if you notice his chest in relationship to the knob of the bat in his hands, you could almost say that his hands are already in the middle of his chest here, right? And it's almost impossible, especially with the reinforced idea of the hands don't matter movement that's happening, especially when you're teaching young players, it's impossible for them to hit this position, right? If they don't understand how to use their hands in the unload portion of the swing. It's so important that they get out of this zone clean, right? In order to get to that spot. Notice the difference or the space between the elbows here, right? Kids don't get here not because they're trying to use their hands, it's because they don't understand how to unload their hands correctly. So I had and I appreciated the comment, but somebody commented the other day about how the difference between a linear and a rotational swing is the linear kids will have their elbows closer together, rotational guys will have their elbows apart. And I think that you'll see elbows apart in a well-defined swing, in a swing that's good mechanically. But I don't think that really is a defining characteristic of linear and rotational. I think what that is a result. Linear is a player that doesn't understand how to, or the elbows coming together is a player that does not understand how to get out of this phase correctly. And in my experience, I do about 1,000 hours of private lessons a year here in Hazlet, Texas, and I do online academy stuff. What fixes this a player's sequence problem is when you throw out the idea that the body is going to drag the barrel around. And so what you'll find out when you start talking to players about their hands in this phase of the swing, right? You won't see them hitting balls on the ground at second base. What you'll see is, and I hope this is very clear today, that if I can get the knob of the bat, right? If I can get the knob of the bat to get into a position where now my barrel is going to be behind my I'm sorry, that my body is going to be behind the barrel, then the rotation of my body is going to help. If the knob of the bat is chasing the rotation of my body, which is exactly what a lot of guys are teaching these days, right? That the hands don't matter, that the hands are an extension of the body. Just turn those shoulders, man, and you're gonna clobber the ball. You cannot hit that position right there by turning your shoulders, and the hands are just following that turn.
Okay, so I don't know if we studied this on your first video, but just so that we are on the same page as far as how we identify and the words we use to associate to the different segments and parts of the swing. Preload is what I call the ready position. That's where you're going to be when the pitcher is up on the mound and he's set. He hasn't broken his hands or started any rearward movement or anything yet. But this is kind of your ready right here. You go from ready to load to then what I call the trigger or launch. That's where you start moving your hands and arms. And the one thing that we're missing here on your swing, like the drill you just watched, is I call this here the pull phase, because we're casting it's a little of a push phase, but we're going to fix that. So you got your pull phase there, and then you've got your power V and extension, okay? Power being extension right there. And then you've got your follow through. Okay, so that when we talk about the stages of your swing and the cages, we're all on the same page here. But let's back up and let's dissect your lower half in the swing. So if you're just watching yourself from the waist down, if I didn't mention it in the last video, I really, really like your lower half in the swing. But I'm going to give you some thoughts and ideas here conceptually, so as you fix your upper half, you can be mindful of these things as you practice, and you'll know them in theory. You'll have knowledge about why people are doing certain things and the benefits you can get from them. Okay. Okay, so this is your ready position, and I want to just make note here as contrast. Albert Pujols, his ready position and his load position are identical. He's one of the very few people. Nelson Cruz is also very similar to Albert. He's got a little bit more movement, but he doesn't move to load. He doesn't twist the upper body a whole lot. He doesn't move the hands a whole lot. His ready and load positions are identical. All Albert Pujols does is launches or triggers. Okay, so keep that in mind when people talk about staying quiet in the swing. Albert is the poster child for that. He's also the poster child for hitting the crap out of the ball and getting as much power as anybody can out of their swing. So again, youth baseball players are going to move a lot to gain power and momentum. As you're getting older and stronger and bigger, I only tell you this. I don't show Albert Pujols because I'm asking you to swing like him. I just want in your brain to have the knowledge that there's people generating power just from subtle movements but correct movements. And, you know, there's elite hitters that are doing that. But the theory behind staying quiet is probably most beneficial in your head not processing too much information, so that all you have to do is think about see ball, hit ball, see ball, hit ball. The less cluttered your brain is with other movement, the easier it is to concentrate on pitch recognition, decision making, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, when you decide to launch. Okay, so that's why I show you this stuff, but it's highly critical on your time to impact as well. Time to impact does not matter as much when you're facing a 13 or 14-year-old pitcher. Okay, time to impact, as you get older and you move up the ranks in baseball, it becomes more and more critical with each phase of of baseball. Okay, so again, time to impact isn't something that we've had a lot of time to discuss yet at with the Saints baseball team. But rest assured, moving forward, we'll get into timing a pitcher, what you're specifically looking for, what you're generally looking for, different ways to do it. But time to impact will be something that we're going to bring up after we can get everybody's swings, perfected, so to speak, or finely tuned mechanically. So here's Albert Pujols. All he does is pick up his left heel, sets his left heel down, and then turns and rotates the lower half. If we look at the angle of his right shin to the ground, you can see it's at 16 degrees. We can see yours is at 22 degrees, and that's not bad at all. I just wanted you to see the comparison there. Um, watch, I would say watch Sawyer's video and Ronnie's video and some of these other videos. I delve into the lower half a little bit more. That's why you should also watch all your other teammates' videos to learn other things, because I delve into other topics in different amounts, in different depth. But also, if you've understood your first video conceptually and what you need to do and where you need to go, if you're watching your other teammates' videos, you can help your teammates. And that's a big part of this. If we can all help each other get to where we want to go by the time the season starts, we're going to be a stronger team. So, but anyway, so your angle 22 is not bad. If you want to investigate getting it lower or whatever the case may be, I again like your bottom half a lot. I'm just going to show you some of the differences from other hitters, but that angle's not bad there. But Albert's is, like I said, he was a little bit less. So if we take a look at your left foot, you'll see that you take your leg kick and when you're touching down, you've already pretty much rotated that fully open, okay? And I don't think this is a bad thing. I just want you to see some of the differences. A lot of Major League Baseball players and elite hitters, they're setting that foot down more closed off, okay? So that once it hits the ground, they've got just, another 3 or 4 inches. It's not a big deal. Um, it's not a huge difference, but they've got just a little bit more rotation left in them to torque their lower half. So as you watch Albert, okay, he's left heel up there. And he's got a little bit of turn there, but he's pretty much dropping the heel where he picked it up from. But he's got just that little bit more further distance to travel and torque there before he comes up on, you can't see it there, but his left heel. So, okay, if you watch Aaron Judge or Justin Turner, and I'm going to show you some other video, their toe comes up and they're really pushing with their heel there, their left heel. But I like, a lot of where you're at here. I'll show you in comparison to Pujols where you are on your kind of load and tension in your legs at the beginning. So you can see in the ready position that your legs are in a perfect position with Albert's there. I would like to see, if we didn't discuss this again in the last film, your spine angle and just a little bit more athleticism. I'm going to give you a couple more films to watch here to add to your list of stuff to watch to gain knowledge. But just in general, that right there, you don't want this knee flexed outward. You do want it flexed inward, because now when you pick up your left foot, you're naturally just going to fall forward. If you're not even trying to twist and turn, if you pick up your left foot, your momentum's going to the pitcher. So that's awesome. So you do that really well. You're very, athletic looking there. I would, investigate and practice just a little bit more athleticism there. And I'm going to show you a video. In fact, I'll put it up right now so you can watch them before we get much further here. I'm going to put up 2 videos, okay? And I want you to watch them when you can and then come back to the rest of this lesson. Okay, so before we get too far into the lower half, what I'd like you to do is go to YouTube, type in the search bar, how to be more athletic hitting, comma, Matt Antonelli. So I'd like you to watch that. That's going to give you a different idea or a different feel of how to gain your ready position. And then I want you to watch the hover drill. It really explains the lower half in the swing really well, much better than I can. So I want you to watch that and then come back and we'll finish up your lower half. Okay, so here we have Mitch Haniger, and you'll see as we roll his film, he's in the similar athletic stance as you are. Again, that part is great. He might be bent down and bent over just a hair more. I can't remember if we covered spine angle in your first lesson. I believe we did. If not, I'll touch on it real quick before we end this one. But let's concentrate on his lower half. Mitch Haniger goes up and rearward, up and back, up and back. And what he's doing essentially is he's gathering his knee to his belt buckle or to his center mass. If you are going to explode outward and do something, whether you're a boxer, whether you're, some other sport, for example, when you take a jump shot, you gather your center mass and you go upwards, right? So if you are gathering or not gathering your power at your center, you're not going to have as much thrust outward. Okay, so it's a very simple concept, but you can see here that he's gathering everything in his middle. Okay, so he is coming down, he's coming up and back, and he's leaving his knee at his belt buckle right there. So that is just like your pitching windup. You go left knee to right shoulder, left knee to right shoulder. Okay, so, and you've got a wonderful leg kick in your pitching windup. So, I would think about practicing doing this like Mitch does. Okay, but I'm just going to roll it so you can see before I talk about the next item here. Okay, and what you do and this is not a bad thing. I want, mind you, I want to let you know that. But I think if you experiment with some different things here, you might get a feel for it and you find you get more power, more torque from it. But the one thing you don't have for anybody that just has continuous movement here is this. I'll show you with Mitch. When Mitch is gathered at center mass, watch his hips, okay? You can see that they're cocked and they have a little torque to them. But after his leg or his knee has reached his belt buckle and he doesn't move it rearward anymore, you can see how it's, again, closer to his middle there. Now he leads his outward movement towards the pitcher and the pitch with his hip. And just for a slight second, okay, as you roll it here, he gets back going with the leg. But you can just see that little boom with the hip there. Where that comes into play and what that, it benefits for the power and the direction and everything. But another thing it benefits is if he's in the phase where he's trying to identify the pitch and make a swing decision, no, 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 yes, okay? The importance in that phase is when you are in that phase, you don't want to get unloaded with your upper half too early. You want to stay completely loaded until you make a swing decision. No, 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 yes. And then that's when you launch your hands. But if he misidentifies a pitch, if he, is early for any other reason, just flat out started earlier, whatever the case may be, if he's early at this point in his swing, all he has to do is leave that left knee there and fall forward. And this is just a split second now, 0.1, 0.2 seconds at most. If he stalled that to regain proper timing, okay, if he were to stall and just fall forward there 6 inches, he's still loaded back here, okay? So in youth hitters, when this, when this movement here is like this and it's all one continuous thing, there's no benefit to stalling there and staying loaded back here. Okay, so this is just a concept. This isn't something that you haven't done, but conceptually, if you're centered in if you're gathered to center mass there, it's going to give you that option to do that, but it's also going to give you more power when you hit the ground, and I'll show you in the next phase here, the second phase from now, what power-wise this does for you, but I want you to understand that concept. I'd like you to watch Sawyer's video because I talk in depth on the leg kick there. It's pretty similar to yours, but you'll get an idea there as well as some other things that I haven't covered with you. But let's look at the next item on the block here. Okay, so from a loaded center mass position at the height of his leg kick, he then goes down and out. And you can see both of those, the up and back and the down and out, the knee is essentially going straight in all of them. He's following that blue line. Okay, so just see that. And that's how your knee travels right there, okay? So you're pretty much just fully linear with it. Just forward, backwards, or backwards, forwards. It's pretty close to how Sawyer does it. Okay. So now that you're aware, and you got a comparison there. Okay, now let's look at what happens when that foot touches down. Okay, Abram, so let's look at Justin Turner. Okay, so here's Justin Turner's down and out. His up seems to be as high as almost anyone in baseball, so that's another reason I want to show you his. Like I've told Sawyer, what I really want him to do is understand these concepts through watching the video and those videos that I posted and, this video lesson, and then go practice all of them. Practice the high, the low, the medium leg kick, the minimal leg kick. Practice them dry, get them down, take them into the cage, and find out what works best for you. But so, you're a big kid, long legs, the whole 9 yards, so, experimenting with all these is fine. I personally don't like too big of a leg kick, but, that's just me. Whatever works for you guys as individuals is what we're trying to figure out. But you've got enough, you hinge well enough everywhere. You got enough body mass to where you can also do a minimal leg kick. What will really be interesting for you is after you get the pull versus push swing and eliminate casting in your swing, how this all comes together for you too. So again, there's Justin coming down and out, down and out. So now that you've seen that, I want to go to a different phase of the leg kick here. So you can see here that Justin is starting to flex his knee outward before contact with the ground with his left foot. And that's very normal. I think all hitters do it. Nobody, I don't think, lands fully closed. But at the same time, he's not fully open. You see how he's, with that left toe, he's not pointed at us, but not too far ahead of us. And that leaves him room to then twist more and to get more torque. Okay. So you're a little bit like Sawyer. You open that up almost toe to pitcher so that when you do hit, there's not a ton more torque you can get there. You're just getting the energy from your rear leg pushing you forward. So again, that's something to keep in mind as you're tinkering with the lower half in the swing. Okay, but all in all, I think you do a really good job with your bottom half. There's just some differences. Now I'm going to give you a little bit more concept and theory here. Okay, so as you've seen, Mitch and Justin, they're going up and back. They're gathering to center, their center mass. So they're loading and gathering to center. And then they're going down and out on a straight line. And what they're doing is they're sending that force and that energy into the ground at their left foot so that they can then twist and torque and send that energy at the ball in the pitcher's direction. Okay, so that's, I say there's two important things to benefit these guys that swing like this, and that is the built-in timing function if you have to delay, and it also sends their energy to the ground. They twist and torque and redirect that energy to the pitcher. Those are the biggest benefits that those guys are getting from that style of leg kick. And whether the leg kick is small, big, or medium, everybody who is an elite swinger is gaining those benefits in their swing. So again, if you are linear, meaning just backwards and just forwards without a whole lot of height gain and not going to your center mass, you're not going to get as much as that of those benefits in your leg kick. Okay. So if you've ever heard any coach say or explain the theory of attacking the ball downward, they're not necessarily talking about the bat, they're talking about your body. But look at the amount of downward movement and attacking the ball downward that Justin gets from this movement, okay? He gets probably 6 inches of drop, maybe more, maybe a little bit less. I can't really tell if I had to measure it out what it is, but it's a significant amount of coming down at the ball, attacking the ball downward, okay? So the next, another benefit to that style of leg kick is that amount of movement right there. If we take you to the highest point of your body when your knee is back, you probably only get that much drop right there, if that. So anyway, this is just a concept and a benefit they get from that leg kick. Again, if we've watched, as I've shown you Albert Pujols, he gets no drop, he just turns, okay, but he's generating power from, again, everything else he's doing. So it's not that you have to do it one way or this way or that way. It's, just making you aware of these things at this point in time so you can tinker around and find out what works best for you. Okay. So at load before you launch, you've got 66 degrees of spine angle. Okay, from the ground to the angle in your spine. And Matt Antonelli here has 53 degrees. So again, I want to visit your spine angle. I think we talked about it a little bit on your first tape, but I just wanted to show you that comparison there. Again, I don't think upper body there's much to clean up. I think lower body there's things that you can try to help yourself and see where you end up. But as we watch Matt roll to the swing, once you eliminate that casting and get the hands pulling as they turn the corner there, this is really, if I had to teach somebody from scratch how to hit, I'd try to make them look just like this guy. But you can see how everything's moving simultaneously, the left shoulder, the left elbow, the hands are coming through, and he's still got his 90 right there. His shoulder and elbow are parallel with the ground, right around where contact is. But you can see that his 90 is still intact there. Okay, so I'll play this back and forth just so you have video and you can kind of get just another point of view on how that looks. He's doing the 10-toe drill here, and I'm going to show you that. You can see his feet and toes, both toes are pointing to the pitcher. His feet are parallel to the front of the plate, not the side of the plate like a normal stance. And I'm going to explain those real well so you can add those to your at-home practice routine. But I just want to roll this guy so you can get a look at it. You have something in slow-mo you can play. Okay. Okay, so I know that basketball is going to limit the amount of times you can get to the diamond sports practices. So I'm showing you these drills to explain a couple things about them, but so you can add them to your routine at home so that you can get these valuable lessons in and these practice drills. But on the left here we have Manny Ramirez, and this is the 10-toe trigger drill, okay? What this drill is designed to do is to help you feel more tension in your load between your left hip and your right shoulder, okay? What you want to do is line up with your toes facing the pitcher, parallel to the front of the plate. You want to get back in your 90 to your trigger point or your full load point and then trigger and launch. And you want to hit the ball up the middle. If you want to get a little bit more advanced, you want to then try to maybe take it a little bit more opposite field to the right side. Again, you don't want to over practice or just practice opposite field, but practicing opposite field in all ranges of your practice is important. Give you an example, some major league pitchers, they'll get 3 hitting sessions like J.D. Martinez is doing on the right pregame, their batting practice session. So what some pitchers will do, they'll take their first cage session and they'll only hit opposite field wherever the pitch is. And then the following 2 batting sessions they will, just hit normal. So again, it's not something you want to do too much, but you got to do it a certain amount of time on a regular basis. But anyway, this drill that Manny's doing is really something you should incorporate as much as you can into your swinging practice at home and at Diamond Sports during our normal practices when it doesn't interfere with other topics we're covering. So that's one drill. The second drill on the right, this is J.D. Martinez pregame batting practice session. First quick thing I want to point out is he's filming himself, okay? J.D. Martinez swings every one of his, or films every one of his batting practices on a daily basis, whether it's on a tee, soft toss, or live pitching in the cage. He records himself and reviews himself daily just to see if there's anything he's regressing on, anything he can change or improve on. So I really want you to know that that's a very important part of your game. But secondly, he's doing a drill where he doesn't move his feet. So how you do this drill is you get in your stance, you take a swing, and wherever you set your left foot down, you stay at that distance with your feet, the width, and then you move your upper body back to load, and you just pause with the load position. Now he's swaying here. You can see that he's rocking a little bit to get a feel, and that's something you can do, but you go back to the load position, and that's where you start the drill. And you just swing without moving your feet. Okay, this is going to teach you how to get maximum torque from your hips, from your upper body, from your load. It's going to teach you how to do that, and that's going to improve a lot of different things. It's going to improve your time to impact. It's going to improve the shortness of your swing. Again, you want a short, quick swing. There's a lot of benefit to this drill. So what you don't want to do is when your feet are together and not moving, you don't want that to negatively impact your upper body mechanics. So, I would like to look at these drills and do them with you in the beginning to make sure that you're not changing anything and actually hurting yourself as far as, learning muscle memory on incorrect movements. But this is really something that's important, both of these, to work into your home routine. So I really want you to see these, since we might not see you, during basketball season as much. So those are. And so again, me and your dad have talked. We know that we want to get you filmed when we can, and going, working on your pitching stuff. I hope that you found this hitting film very beneficial to you. And if you have, all I can tell you is that it's the same thing on the pitching side. You're going to see a lot of different things, and we can help tweak you on that side of the ledger as well. But anyway, I know we're not going to see as much down there, and I know that you have good understanding of your first lesson, so I did want to jump ahead and get this to you so you can incorporate this stuff as soon as you can. But again, first and foremost, I want to eliminate that casting and help you in any way I can there. So, you guys just contact me, or we'll see you down at practice, whatever the case may be, and we'll go from there, buddy. So I'm going to post this to the website, and there you go. Okay, bud. So I'm going to add this to your lesson as well. It's something I just thought of here as I was ending and trying to remember your first lesson. But since you have knowledge now and understand the finer points of the pull phase of the swing, I just kind of want to dissect in a closer manner your load, which is going from here to here. Your load, or your final loading position, is where you're at right before you snap the hands and enter into the swing. Again, as I told you on film, I hopefully did, but I really like your position here. Your elbows down a bit lower than some guys. But again, a lot of hitting instructors teach keeping it down there. So again, it's just a compare and contrast kind of situation. But I personally am a bigger fan of raising the right elbow, and when you load, you pull back like the bow and arrow, and your right elbow leads that by going behind you, not back to the catcher, but behind you, okay? But I want you to understand what I coined the theory, loading the 90. Loading the 90. The reason I like loading the 90 is because you want to keep the 90 as you swing. So if you arm bar and get out of the 90 in your load or your initial movements, that's going to send your bat rotational, right? So my theory and concept of loading the 90, I want you to see it, because as you can see, as you start to snap, that's when you're arm barring, right? Okay, right there. Right there you got bend in the arm, but when you go, you don't. So I just want you to see these differences and what some different hitters are doing, okay? So here's Ronnie. And when he loads, you can see he's not moving his 90 by arm barring, okay? That relationship, okay, gets a little bit there. But when he's at load, before he starts to come back, right there, he's got his 90 pretty good. So I call that loading your 90. You're here, and you just move your 90. You can see his right elbow goes back a little bit. If he went more behind him, that would be a little bit better. But he's closed off enough with his left shoulder, so he doesn't really need to get that direction too much. But right there, you can see he's going back a little bit as he comes forward. But you can see his right elbow and his right shoulder are parallel to the ground there, okay? So again, he's just loading his 90 is all he's doing. Okay, and personally, I'm a big fan of that. It's not, it doesn't mean you're not going to be an elite hitter if you don't do it that way, because there are plenty of elite hitters that keep their elbow down a little bit further like you do. So I don't want you to think of it in that way. Jose Altuve does it that way. There's just so many guys, I could list them all day, but that in and of itself is not a big deal. But I want you to be aware of this, because now you're aware of how important of maintaining the 90 is and not arm barring as early as you do. So I want you to just have an acute awareness of this. So here's Sawyer, and he too loads the 90. You see how as he starts to load here, there goes his right elbow rearward. Maximizing the tension between left hip and rear shoulder, right rear shoulder. But more than anything, I want you to have this knowledge. If this is something you think you can tweak, great. If it's not, great. But at minimum, I would highly suggest practicing this and seeing if it is comfortable. When you do this, you might also have to change your grip to allow for the upward movement in your right elbow. But also, if you don't change the grip too much, it's gonna give you more bat leg as well, or bat wrap. Nothing wrong with that. So again, just stuff to keep in mind as you're tweaking the swing, now that you understand the rest of the mechanics we've gone over in your first lesson. If we watch Mitch's load here, he goes from ready to load like this. Okay, you can see the position of his right elbow. He gets a little pull back with it behind him. Another point I want to bring up now that you are aware of the pulling the hands and not casting part of your swing. When I say the words turning the corner, what I'm talking about is when the hands come around the shoulder, that's the corner. But you can see in the pull phase of his swing where his hands are, okay? They are higher up when you're doing this correctly, okay? But the reason I bring this up in your load is that most hitters, when they get to their load, and Justin Turner is somebody that's lower than a lot of people, but when you get to your load, most hitters and elite hitters have their hands right behind their armpit. Some more, some less, but as far as height and where they're at, they're pretty close to behind their armpit. So your loading and your hands are just a little bit higher there. And as you swing, they kind of stay there. So, just watch some film on as many different hitters as you can. In the beginning of the year, I gave you guys a to-do list of watching a lot of different major league hitters from the best to worst in ascending order on the 2018 Major League Baseball best averages list. And that's so you guys could watch all these swings and be familiar with them when we started talking about them. But Mitch here, you can see he doesn't really get any more closer to his armpit than you. So that's, again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in your load and the way you start, at least from that position there. But it's knowledge I want you to have. But as you start tweaking your swing now, I want you to know as much about these areas of your swing so you can keep all this stuff in mind and have knowledge of what other guys are doing. So again, I want to throw that in there too, so you can study this stuff at home and enter it into your practice routines, since we're, basketball season's here and we might not get enough time in practice. So anyway, I'm going to post this, and you can watch this one as well, bud.